Superman is here! We're gonna talk about it! Yay! What is up, everyone? Welcome back to another movie review on the channel. And today, if you couldn't guess, we're gonna be talking about Superman. Gonna be doing the proper, full review, I guess you could say. If you saw my last video, I kind of just did a little, thoughts and initial feelings coming out of the theater type thing. I wanted to get something out, talk about it, because I had a lot on my mind to say, and I knew I wasn't going to get to record the video yet. So, here we are. We're going to talk about it. We're going to go more in detail, more of the things that I liked, and all the very long list of things that I didn't like. I have a handy-dandy tablet here with all my notes, and similar to if you guys watch my Thunderbolts review, I'm going to kind of go down and basically talk about just the things I liked and didn't like. And I'll kind of give the, story beats as I go. Because with this film especially, it's really hard to kind of go through and be, oh, well, here's the story. Because one of my issues with the film is that things kind of just happen. It doesn't really feel like it has, a structured story. Oh, this happens, which therefore makes this happen, but then this happens. It basically just goes, this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens. It's like a child wrote it. So, yeah, we're going to get into it. Let's do it. I'm going to start off with the things that I did like, because, as usual for these, it tends to be a lot quicker. Probably the thing I like the most about this movie, and this really bums me out, is the cast. I think the cast, top to bottom, was awesome. It was a great cast. David Cornsweet as Superman, Rachel Brosnahan as Lois, Nicholas Hoult as Lex. On down the line, everyone, the actor who played Perry White, the actress who played Kat, the actors who played Eve, Jimmy, everyone they cast was great. But they just didn't get much to do. Which was the bummer. Because you have such a good, solid cast. Everyone feels really... No one felt out of place. I didn't really look at anyone and go, I don't know if that really feels like their character. No, they all felt like they were really good choices. But they just, unfortunately, didn't get much good material to work with, so that's kind of the big thing. And segueing from the cast, the thing I liked the most about this movie was Mr. Terrific. Yeah, Mr. Terrific was awesome. And I can't remember the actor's name. He was played by the same actor who was Darwin in X-Men First Class. So he's doing stuff with DC now. And he was great. He was the absolute best part of the movie. He felt like the most well-rounded character. He felt like a superhero. He felt very commanding, in charge when he showed up. You listen to him, you focus on him. He wasn't a jerk to anybody. He got stuff taken care of when he needed to. He felt like Mr. Terrific from the comics. He didn't feel like some kind of other weird thing. It was just like, he felt just like, yeah, that's Mr. Terrific. The T-Spheres were cool. His T-Ship was really cool. Just all around did a very good job with Mr. Terrific. Which is a shame, because this is a Superman movie. My favorite part of the Superman movie, you would think would be Superman, not Mr. Terrific. But unfortunately, that's where we're at. I did like the, aesthetic of the movie. It looked pretty good. I like that we had more vibrant colors. It did kind of have like a Metropolis-y comic booky feel to it. It didn't feel so dark and drab like other versions of Superman from recent date. And the CGI wasn't the worst. I mean, there are obviously moments where you could tell, yeah, obviously this is CGI. But it wasn't as, cartoonishly bad as a lot of the Marvel films have been lately. So that was kind of nice. Like the kaiju, the big old kaiju monster he fights, didn't look terrible. I mean, obviously looking at it, you're like, yeah, that's CGI. Come on. But it didn't look horrendously bad. He didn't look like he was just, completely out of place in the scenes. The Babe Metamorphosed kid looked a little funky most of the time, but again, it's not the worst I've seen, so I guess I'd give it like a passing mark, like an average. And it was nice seeing Superman save people and actually care about, the civilians and whatnot. There are moments where he's fighting the big kaiju. He'll like stop the kaiju from like crashing into a building, then he'll turn around and be like, "Is everyone okay? Is everyone all right?" There's a bit where the kaiju stumbles. I think something happens. He flies down and he catches a squirrel and gets it to safety. He catches a foot, and there's this dog, and he uses like his super breath to kind of like blow the dog across, so it gets out of harm's way. So it's nice seeing him save animals and people and things. There are a lot of moments where he feels like Superman, and then there's a lot of moments where he really doesn't. And unfortunately, that's kind of the end of the things that I liked about it. It wasn't a ton, it was essentially just cast. Superman, when Superman does act like Superman, it's cool. Aesthetics are fairly decent for the most part, and the CG wasn't as horrible as a lot of other stuff. Now, we're going to get into the stuff that I didn't like. And buckle up, people, because this is going to be a long one, and there might be some rants going on. I don't know. We're going to find out together. But to start off, the biggest issue with this film is probably the issue that I think a lot of people, myself included, already kind of saw coming, and it was James Gunn. This very much feels like a James Gunn movie, which is not good for Superman. It has that whole, I gotta have all the team with it. I can't just do, a single character. We gotta have an ensemble cast. There's a lot of stupid jokes that really, I can't say, any of the jokes landed. Even in the theater, there weren't a lot of people really laughing. There's a couple chuckles here and there. I think there's maybe one joke that I remember. I don't even remember what the joke was. There was one where I kind of went, huh, and that was about it. So, and I don't know what happened, because James Gunn's usually funny. A lot of his movies usually have heart, and this one doesn't. This one feels devoid of that, which really, really sucks. And like I mentioned earlier, there's no real, structure to it either, which, again, he's normally pretty good with, but it just feels like a lot of times, things just happen, and then they happen, and then this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens, and then this happens. There's no, this is the major thing, and then that causes this. But then also, this happens because of that. And then because of that initial thing, therefore this happens. It's basically just and then. It just feels it's literally just like a child going through, telling you what they did this day after they got home. So, well, we did this, and then we did this, and then we went out to play recess, and that's what it feels like. It feels very... This movie, in a lot of ways, feels very childish. Like it was made for a child, yet there's still some adult things in it, so that's also really kind of strange and confusing. And there's too many characters. As a lot of us, again, a lot of, a few years before the movie even came out, there's a lot of worry that with the Justice Gang being in this, there's going to be too many characters, and sure enough, there were. To the point where, because you have Superman, you have Lois, you have his supporting cast, like all the people at the Daily Planet, you got Perry, Jimmy, Cat Grant, Lombard, then you have Ma and Pa Kent, then you have the Justice Gang, Guy, Mr. Terrific, and Hawkgirl, and then Supergirl shows up at one point, and then you have Lex, and Miss Tessmacher, and Otis, and the rest of his gang, then you have Ultraman, then you have the Engineer, and it's just, there's so many people, and there's a lot of things that, for example, Guy Gardner mentions the Green Lantern Corps. Now, it feels like James Gunn kind of just assumes a lot of people are going to know what these things are. Like, he mentions the Green Lantern Corps, but if, someone like me, who's a massive crazy Uber, I know what the Green Lantern Corps is. But if there's just some random normie who maybe doesn't know much about DC, they're going to be like, what's the Green Lantern Corps? What's that? And there's a lot of those things in the movie where things kind of just get dropped on you. And it's like, okay, I guess this is what we're doing now. And because of there being so many characters, a lot of them don't get enough screen time, or they just don't really have much to do. Especially the Daily Planet crew. Like, Perry White does nothing. He doesn't even feel like a character. He could have been any generic, newspaper publisher. It's one of my issues I had with the Batman is that Commissioner Gordon kind of feels very generic. He feels like he could have just been any random cop off the street. Jim Gordon is a character. He acts a certain way, does certain things. He should feel like a character in a Batman movie, not just some random guy, And they did the same thing with Perry. And I'm going to be doing this a lot because it was the last Superman that came out, comparing it to Man of Steel, which again, I'm not the biggest fan of. Perry White in that movie actually felt like a character. He actually got screen time. There's that great scene at the end of the movie where he, excuse me, where he and Lombard help save the girl. And that's a really good scene. We get none of that. Like, Perry's just there for the ride in this movie. We don't really get a whole lot of Kat. She's kind of just there. We don't really get anything of Lombard. He's just there to be basically, comedy relief, like a lot of the stuff in this movie. Ma and Pa Kent are in it, but they have 2 scenes, so we really don't get to interact and get to know this version of Ma and Pa Kent that much, which is, again, bothers me because this is a Superman movie. They're very integral to the character of Superman. They deserve more screen time. They deserve more respect. And again, in Man of Steel, even though I don't like that version of Ma and Pa Kent, they at least got more screen time. You at least understood them as characters. They felt like characters. They didn't just feel like, oh, let's just tack them on here because it's a Superman movie and we have to have them. Even Guy Gardner, who he got a decent amount of screen time. It just felt kind of like, I wish there would have been more to actually flesh him out a little bit more. I mean, Nathan Fillion was great, and I thought he did a very good job as Guy Gardner, and the character felt like Guy Gardner, but I just feel like we just need a little bit more to really round him out a little bit, maybe shave off some of the rough edges, which is ironic saying that it's Guy. He's basically just rough edges, but it would have been nice to get a little more character out of him. Maybe just a smidge more. Hawkgirl does nothing. She's basically there. Then I don't think they establish which Hawkgirl is, but I do believe it's supposed to be the Kendra Sanders version, not the Shira Hall version. But at least that's what I've been told. That's what I've been hearing. I don't recall them saying that in the film, though, so I'm not sure. But that's what we'll go with. And they even have Rick Flag, who is in Creature Commandos. He comes back in this, and he does nothing. He has a couple very quick scenes. He really doesn't do much. And that's just the way it is. A lot of the main characters who get screen time are Superman, Lois, Lex, Mr. Terrific, and then Metamorpho and Guy kind of for a little bit, but not as much as the other ones. But those are the main 4. And then there's all like I said, all the Daily Planet crew and whatnot. It's just it was a mistake. The Justice Gang shouldn't have been in there. Mr. Terrific, Guy, and Hawkgirl should not have been in there. It took away a lot of screen time from the other core Superman cast. They should have just focused on them. That's what they really should have done, like we all said in the first place. No one in this film respects Superman. Superman gets joked on. He gets clowned on. There's literally the scene where he's fighting the kaiju. The Justice Gang shows up, and he's basically saying, I'm trying to figure out how to get him out of here so that we can maybe get him to somewhere else where we can get maybe, find a place for him or maybe euthanize him a little bit more humanely. And the Justice Gang just kills him. They're like, yeah, we don't care. We got this, and kills him. And Metamorpho the whole time, he doesn't really respect him. Obviously, Lex doesn't. Lois really doesn't. He tells, they're the 3 months into the relationship and he's already, revealed his identity, which that feels kind of quick for things to be on. I thought they were together a lot longer than that. But whatever. And she doesn't really respect him that much. She's kind of on the fence. She kind of does. She kind of doesn't. And it takes her the whole length of the movie after he tells her he loves her. It takes the whole movie for her to say I love you back. and be even sure if she's still going to stay with him, because she even says to, I think, Mr. Terrific, she's going to break up with him, or she was going to, and then he said he loves her, and then she wasn't sure. It was just a whole, like, Superman's a joke in this, to the point where Ultraman, in the one fight, just kicks him right in the nuts. And I'm going, that gotta go for the joke, and we gotta, have it at the expense of Superman. Great job, James. Great job. And at the end of the movie, when Supergirl has her cameo, she waltzes in, drunk off her ass, takes Krypto, because apparently Krypto's her dog now, which is, Krypto is supposed to be Superman's dog, takes me, goes, thanks for watching him, bitch, and leaves. Straight up calls Superman a bitch. We'll get back to that. But no one in this whole entire movie respects Superman, and it's about Superman. Superman is the epitome. He's the number one guy. He is the superhero, and not a single person respects him. He doesn't command the screen. When he shows up, you don't feel like the situation's under control. And again, comparing it to Man of Steel, he commanded respect. He commanded presence. He showed up. People listened to him. People talked. If he said something, people, paid attention, did what he said. None of that in this. And to get it out of the way, I'm just going to say it now. While I don't think this makes the movie good, I don't necessarily like the movie. I do think that Man of Steel is a better movie than this, which is crazy to say, and I kind of hate that this movie makes me say that. But in 2025, yeah, that's where we're at. Man of Steel is a better Superman movie than another Superman film. Never thought I would say that in my life. And then, next thing, there's a lot of reused elements in this. Like, I was watching this, and there's a lot of stuff that I kind of went, Zack Snyder did that. Zack Snyder did that. Zack Snyder did that. Even for Superman Returns, he pulls from, because part of the whole thing is he has this machine that allows him to visit these other dimensions, and he has like a prison there. And he also does, in fact, have the evil monkeys that run a social media smear campaign against Superman, which I can't believe that was actually real. So, instead of internet trolls, it says internet monkeys. While they're there, he, at one point, like, because he doesn't do, I think, because of how he's manipulating things, if you're off by, like, even, like, a fraction of anything, it can start tearing through, the actual fabric of reality. And he does that. It starts ripping everything apart, and it starts splitting, the river leading to Metropolis, and then it starts splitting Metropolis. And I'm going, this is the third act of Superman Returns. It's the same thing. And there's a lot of similar story beats, like the whole, Superman interferes in foreign matters, and, then the world is not sure if what Superman should be. What should he be held accountable for? Should he be being able to operate on his own like this? Should he be? It's just like I'm just watching BVS again. I'm BVS with a slightly different skin on it. So for a movie that also feels a lot like an overcorrection of the Snyderverse and an apology for the Snyderverse, takes a lot from the Snyderverse. So that was really annoying. It's like, just do your own thing, man. Don't be taken from, Snyder or Bryan Singer or whatever. Do your own thing. You're James Gunn. It's Superman. You don't need to rip anything else off. The start of the movie breaks the show don't tell rule. It basically starts off, there's this wall of text that it's like everything's in threes for whatever reason. It's like 300 years ago, or for 300 years, metahumans have been, around doing their thing. And then it goes to like 30 years ago, the most powerful metahuman was sent to Earth as a child. And then 3 years ago, that metahuman emerged as Superman. 3 minutes ago, Superman lost his first battle. And then we just see him crash into the snow, broken, beaten, like you've seen in the trailer. Like they told us up front, that's how the movie starts. And after getting the context and seeing it in the movie, it didn't work for me. Like we should have, instead of having this wall of text that almost kind of felt like very like we're trying to be like Star Wars. we should have just been given a little montage. You could have made that the opening credits. You know, doing a montage of Superman doing all these cool things. You know, his first appearance to the public. You know, fighting all these bad guys, doing all these heroic deeds, saving, you know, cats from trees and stuff. And then maybe do like the quick lead up to him fighting the Hammer of Boravia, which kicks his ass. That's the fight where he first loses. Because we don't see any of it. It's all off screen, so it's kind of hard for us to have any kind of, you know, connection or reaction to it. So that was really dumb. Ultraman. We find out who Ultraman is. And Ultraman, this is something else Snyder did, was smashing two Superman characters together. Ultraman is a smash of two characters because he has the name Ultraman, who's a character, and then you find out when because this is one of my other issues with this film, is that it's very predictable. Right as he's about to take his mask off, I'm like, oh, it's gonna be Superman. Sure enough, Ultraman in this film is a Lex Luthor made clone of Superman. So I'm going, okay, you're named Ultraman. You're wearing Doomsday's containment suit. And you're a Lex Luthor created Superman clone. So and his suit's purple. So you're Bizarro? Why not just call him Bizarro? Or, since Lex has all of this access to all these different dimensions and whatnot, why didn't we just pull the real Ultraman from the Crime Syndicate, who's a parallel Earth version of Superman who's just evil? Why not just do that? And it's one of the issues I have, because there's so many like small things. Like, why didn't you just do this? Why did you do that? Why didn't you just do this? This would have made more sense. For example, he talks about wanting to destroy Superman's reputation. He has a Superman clone. Why doesn't he have the Superman clone? Like, this story easily could have been him finding Superman's DNA, making the clone, and then using the clone to go around and ruin Superman's reputation. And then at the end of the movie, Superman has to fight him and clear his name. That would have been a better story. Would have been more interesting. Would have been cool to see Lex controlling a Superman, going and then trying to have Superman grapple with that, have to grapple with it. It just would have been a better movie, a better idea. Oh, it just bothers me. He doesn't look like the character. He just looks. Because when he takes his mask, I'm like, oh, so he's just Bizarro. And then I couldn't get past the fact that, like, I'm looking at half the time because his suit looks so similar to Doomsday's containment suit. I'm thinking, is he just gonna rip out of this and reveal Doomsday at one point? Nope, just should have been Bizarro. Crypto. The annoying dog in the room. I hated Crypto. I really did. I loved the idea of adding Crypto when I first heard that that's what they were going to do. I think Crypto's great. I like that James Gunn appeared to be going more to that Silver Age-y kind of feel with Superman. And I was all for it. And then I started hearing that James Gunn was talking like, oh, well, he's kind of based on my dog, Uzo or Ozu or whatever. He's not so much like Crypto. And I was like, what? And then I saw the movie and like, oh, I get it. Because James Gunn, throughout this whole press tour, was talking about how ill-behaved his dog was and how, oh, he was a little monster and he was a terrible dog and da-da-da-da-da. And that was Crypto. Crypto was not trained at all. He barely listened to Superman. He runs through everything and just, destroys everything. There's no kind of, discipline to this dog at all. And it makes sense when you find out that Supergirl's dog and not Superman's. I was hoping that, the dog, because even Superman really kind of doesn't like him, but then he goes out of his way to save him because he's like, well, he is a dog and he's alone. He's probably scared, so I should save him, which I like. That was very Superman-y. But then he relies on him at the end and he's always yelling at him. I was hoping the movie would start off, they were kind of like at odds. Crypto wasn't very, well trained. He wouldn't really listen. And then by the end of it, we would have gotten a Crypto who is listening to Superman, who is more loyal, who is, who will obey, who's not, flying off the handle, ruining everything, breaking everything. Half the time, the dog just uses a joke. For example, the very end of conflict when Lex and Superman are having their philosophical debate and whatnot, or at least they're trying to. Because they end everything. Mr. Terrific helps because Mr. Terrific is such a key point to the movie, even though we were assured by James Gunn that the Justice Gang wouldn't be that big of a part of the movie. Yet there they are, and they show up, they get everything situated, they shut down the portal device that's destroying reality or ruining everything. And Lex gets all mad and he's like, "You piece of shit, alien!" And Superman's like, "That's where you've always been wrong about me. I'm just human as anybody else. I cry, I laugh, I feel emotions." I'm like, "You're not," and I'm watching this going, "You're not in control of your emotions. You're an idiot. You're childish." And Lex goes to retort, and I'm thinking, "Oh, we're gonna have this really cool, verbal debate of them, going back and forth with their different ideologies." No, Krypto just flies in and starts ragdolling Lex all over the place. And I'm like, we do understand here. I'm sorry I keep stepping off here. It's really hot in my room. I'm trying to, keep a little cool here. But he ragdolls Lex, and I'm like, Lex should be dead. Like, he throws him around. Like, Krypto is literally treating him like a rag doll. And he's completely fine. He has a few bumps and bruises. And then he gets up and Lex cries. Which, that's something we're going to address later as well. But yeah, Krypto was a big issue for me in this. He wasn't utilized well. He's mainly just a joke, and he was just untrained and annoying. I didn't like that he was Supergirl's dog, and he wasn't Superman's. Supergirl has her own pet. She has Streaky. Krypto's Superman's dog. Like, you don't... stop with the unnecessary retcons. Segue! All of the retcons in this movie drive me insane. Krypto's a big one. Another one they do. This might be me nitpicking, but I thought it was really dumb because it I feel like it almost ruins Lex's whole plan. Because in this movie, the Fortress is basically key to Superman's DNA, and it opens up that way. So Lex gets a hold of a piece of Superman's hair, which is how he's able to clone him, and then how he's able, which we don't see, that's all off screen, it just happens. And he's also able to gain access to the Fortress of Solitude. And he's able to get there because Engineer is somehow as fast as Superman. Okay? And I'm just sitting here going, if we had either of the keys to the Fortress, like the really big one that Superman has to pick up and fly in there, that would have made this a lot harder. Or if he had the All-Star Superman style key, where it's a normal house key carved out of a piece of, I think I mentioned this in my other video. If it was carved out of a piece of a dead star or whatever it was, he'd be the one able to lift it. Yeah, sure, you have Ultron, but it would have been a lot more difficult. They'd have to find where the key was, figure things. It's like, why did you do that? That was unnecessary. And then making Supergirl this party girl, because she shows up literally drunk, takes her dog, again, calls him a bitch and dips out. Superman, who's being kind of patched up by one of the Superman robots, he says, yeah, she likes to go bar hopping on planets with red suns because she can get drunk. And I'm like, you're allowing your, I don't know, how, typically Kara's 17. And I'm like, you're letting your 17-year-old cousin bar hop, getting drunk on different planets? What is your morals, dude? You're Superman. You shouldn't be okay with this, but whatever, I guess we are. And the biggest thing, and this is the thing that really stuck with me, that I really couldn't get past, is what they did to Jor-El and Lara. This movie basically takes the attitude that Superman's Kryptonian side doesn't matter, he's all human. Because in this movie, we find out that there is a transmission sent with Superman when he is sent from Krypton to Earth. Normal. It happens pretty much in every version of the character. And throughout the movie, Superman, plays it and he references it. But he only has the first half. The second half of the message is corrupted. So, he doesn't know what it says. But somehow when Lex invades the Fortress, because they find it somehow because Engineer's as fast as Superman, because humans with nanobots are just as fast as Kryptonians in this universe. Sure. They find the Fortress. She then hacks the Fortress because, again, human tech with nanites is apparently able to hack Kryptonian technology. Okay, and they also destroy all the Superman robots because, again, I guess human nanotechnology is stronger than Kryptonian technology. So I'm guessing here, Batman, when he meets Superman, can just show up and go, "All right, Supes, bare knuckle fisticuffs, I got you," and win. That's what you're telling me. Freaking stupid. It's absolutely dumb. So what Lex can decipher that Superman's own Kryptonian tech couldn't decipher from the Kryptonian message, we find out the second half of the message. And the second half of the message is basically Jor-El and Lara, and I'm paraphrasing here, telling Superman to conquer all of humanity, roll over with an iron fist, and take as many wives as you can. Have a harem, which they keep making so many jokes for. And like the foreign dictators, like, "Oh, Superman has harem here with plenty of, he thinks Baravian women are most attractive and most beautiful. He has many wives and harem." And it's like they have a bunch of different foreign leaders going, "Oh, he has harem here. Oh, he has harem here." They ruined a major portion of Superman lore for a freaking joke. God, I'm tired of this. I'm so tired of them, Hollywood, ruining and changing characters just to fit their stupid narrative because they don't like the character or they just want to make a stupid, funny, haha joke. I'm tired of someone like people like me who spend our lives spend our money, time, effort on these characters. You can see the stuff behind me. I'm wearing a Trinity shirt. You can kind of see my figures here. I got stuff all around me. I care about these characters. I'm sick and tired of feeling like I'm getting screwed over for putting all my time and effort in this and giving them my money. Then when I go see the movie or whatever, they just take a massive dump all over it. I'm beyond tired of it. Making Superman's parents evil, and they make sure to drive it home to both Superman and the audience that they're like, "Oh, well, Lex, how can we trust him?" Like, no, I this is all real. Lex even admits to, I think it was the leader of Bravia, because he's in with him, he's trying to get half of Bravia so he can roll over it or whatever, be king, which is basically just a front for his real objective, which I'll get to in a second. But oh my god. So Lex even admits, "Oh, that's convenient. Because I would have doctored it if I had to, but now I don't have to." So he says that. We have Mr. Terrific when the Justice Gang meets up with Superman, because right away, after Superman helps them stop the kaiju, Lex immediately posts, excuse me, all over the big jumbotrons and things, this message from Superman, and the whole entire world immediately turns against it within seconds. And the Justice League, understandably, like, "Hey, what's going on here?" And Superman's like, "Oh, it's got to be fake. It can't be real. I only knew the first message. I didn't know the second half, but that second half that he said can't be real." Mr. Terrific's like, "No, I know those technicians. They wouldn't lie." So they are trying to make it known. This is legit. This isn't fake. Jor-El and Lara are evil. They want Superman to basically conquer this planet. They basically turn him into Goku, which Goku is supposed to be inspired in some ways, in his origin is pretty obvious, by Superman. Not Superman inspired by Goku when Superman predates the character by 50 years. God, can you tell I'm upset? Oh my god, and there's people I know that said, "Oh, I thought that was okay." Breaking lore like that just reinforces the idea that Superman does his Superman stuff because he wants to, not because anyone wants him to. And I'm like, you didn't need to destroy lore to do that. There are plenty of versions of Superman where Jor-El and Lara simply send Superman to Earth just to survive. Their whole message is, "Cow, we screwed up. Our planet's dying. We loved you. We didn't want to see our son die because of our mistakes. Go survive. Go live. Go off here. We're sorry we can't come with you." And then Superman becomes Superman on his own because of his Earth parents who raised him. You don't need to ruin Jor-El and Laura to get that point across. You don't. But James Gunn wanted to. God, it's so stupid. There's a lot of people going, oh, well, they'll retcon it, or oh, it'll be this, or oh, it'll be that. And it's like, that's cope. Because like I said, they spent so much on making you know that this is real. It's not fake. Heck, there's even a moment at the end of the film, because they like putting on the message when Superman's healing, because Superman, like the robots say that, oh, Superman likes it because it, it calms him, or he finds it peaceful or something like that. So at the end of the film, when they're fixing him up after the climactic fight, he says, put on the video of his parents, he finds it soothing. And I was expecting Superman to be like, no, I don't want that anymore. Because obviously he knows the true second half. And I was expecting, Robot 4, who's kind of like the main robot, he's one of the few that wasn't completely wrecked by, the invasion of the fortress. He like lost half of his body, but he was still like functional. So I was thinking, oh, he'll probably say like, oh no, don't worry, Cal, we were able to decipher it, but it looks so real because this was Kryptonian technology. The Earth's technology is so primitive compared to Kryptonian technology. Of course they would think it was real and wasn't doctored. But we figured it out. We figured out the real message. Nope! I was waiting the whole movie for the yes, psych nah moment. But no, never came. They want, and regardless if they retcon it later, they wanted it in this movie, everyone to believe Superman's birth parents are evil. And I hate that. I am not for that. Get that crap out of my face. That's one of the big reasons why I hate this film. Then there's a bunch of inconsistencies. For example, I mentioned there's Superman gets involved in this foreign conflict. The whole world's like, should he be doing this? Should he not be doing this? That's the big crux of the movie. But then towards the end of the movie, Hawkgirl grabs the foreign leader who's in league with Lex, who's part of this whole thing, and kills him. And nothing's done about it. Nothing's said about it. Nothing happened. There's no repercussions. So it's like, Superman can't, but the Justice Gang can, even though they're more tied to like America being funded by Maxwell Lord than Superman is. Great job. Lex's motivation in this movie was fine. I was with him. It kind of felt like a ripoff of what he was doing in the Donner version, where he wanted to get this land to roll over. But then we find out, no. That's not what Lex is doing at all. Lex did this whole thing with the leader of Bravia and helped start this war that he knew Superman would get involved in, and try to turn everyone against Superman and ruin his reputation and get the government to give him permission to kill Superman. That is Lex's motivation in this movie. This whole reason to do things is that he wants government permission to kill Superman. Why? Lex Luthor, traditionally as a character, you look at Gene Hackman Lex, you look at Kevin Spacey Lex, you look at Jesse Eisenberg Lex, you look at Superman the Animated Series Lex, you look at comic books. Lex doesn't care. He doesn't want or need permission. He will do whatever way he can kill Superman because he wants to kill Superman, because he hates Superman. He doesn't care. He doesn't need permission. And you could say to me, oh, well, Knight, this is a different version of Lex. This is Lex who wants to do it this way. Inconsistency time. So it's like, okay, you want to legally have a reason to legally kill Superman. You'll illegally start a war to do it? It doesn't make sense. And then he cries after he loses. I'm like, God. Lex was so good for so long. There's a great scene where he ends up killing this little like street vendor guy who saves Superman while he has Superman trapped in that pocket dimension in the prisons, after the government gives him permission to take him in and question him. And he has Metamorpho with Superman and gives him Metamorpho is making kryptonite to weaken Superman so he won't escape. And Lex shoots the guy. And it's a guy who helped up Superman during the Kaiju fight. Or no, I think it's the Hammer of Bravia fight at the beginning. One of the two. And it's like, oh, this Lex is cold. All right. We're going to, upscale his villainy a little bit here. And then I was like, no, he just cries. And I just... Oh, it's so annoying. Just... James Gunn is not the guy for this. He's not. He really, really isn't. And now I have no faith for the rest of the DCU. I really don't. And the last thing I really want to talk about, the Jor-El and Laura thing was one big thing that really bothered me. The other big major issue I had with this was Superman himself. Superman in this movie is not Superman. There are moments, like I mentioned, where he's saving, the people, he's checking on the people, making sure they're okay. He doesn't want to kill the kaiju. He saves a little squirrel at one point. Superman is so inconsistent, it's ridiculous, because you'll have those moments. Then, in this film, he just acts very childish. Like, he has the mind of a child. As someone who's a Christian, someone who understands that, Superman is meant to be a God-fearing man, that's not exactly what God means when he says we're supposed to have the mind of a child. He's very naive. And he's 30 years... Keep that in mind. Superman is 30 years old in this movie. And he's been doing this for 3 years. 3 years. And he just tells Lois his secret identity 3 months into their relationship. He tells the whole Justice Gang his secret identity without fear of what could happen. He is so... Like, when they have the interview scene with Lois and Clark, initially, when I first saw what they released as, promotion for the movie, I was thinking, yeah, Lois, you're being a bit much here. By the end of it, I was on her side because Superman reveals that the leader of Bravia that Hawkgirl ends up killing, he tortured... He goes, I flung him up against a cactus in lecture and said, if you do this again, if you don't stop, we're going to have a less kind conversation. So he threatens the guy. And then Lois covers it up. She doesn't, because they're having this interview, she doesn't report on it. This is where Injustice Superman comes in. This is where Justice Lord Superman comes in. And people worry about Snyder's Superman. He wasn't torturing and threatening to kill foreign leaders like this one. That enraged me. He doesn't have control of his emotions. There's the scene where he storms into Luthor's office and is throwing things around, screaming for crypto. Where I watched Superman the movie, and in Superman the movie, Superman kicks down the door, he walks in, and Lex has that similar, hey, it's the first time we meet, how are you? Do you need a drink? Otis, take his cape. Otis walks up to take his cape, and Superman just goes. And that's all he needs to do. He just gives that look. He doesn't fly off the handle or anything. But no, this one does. This one's an emotional wreck. And he doesn't have a backbone. He trusts too easily. He doesn't feel like Superman. He's so inconsistent. There are moments where he is, and there are moments where he isn't. He's very whiny, and he doesn't win any fight by himself. All the fights he has in this movie, he needs help, whether it's from the Justice Gang or Crypto. And yeah, he's fighting Ultraman, who's arguably a more powerful version of him, but less smart. So Lex has these cameras following him around, and he calls out essentially vitamins, because he's like, maneuver 1A, maneuver 12B, maneuver D19. And I'm just sitting here going, he's just calling out vitamins, that's great. Which I hate that idea, the whole, and because Lex apparently has been studying Superman's fighting skills and developing ways to counter him. I hate that. It feels like a cheat, but whatever. And he has these little drones flying around, so Lex can see Superman and how he's going to fight, and he can give out the call to counter it. Superman at the end, because Lex says to him, brain always beats brawn, Ultraman has him pinned and he's beating on him. And Superman starts laughing, and Lex is like, what do you laugh at? And he goes, brain beats brawn. And Crypto flies in and starts chewing up the cameras. And this is another part. Why couldn't Superman just use his heat vision on those cameras? He could have gone brain beats brawn, fried the one camera, fried another camera, and then he's going after the cameras. And then because there's fewer and fewer cameras, it's harder and harder for Lex to give commands to Ultraman, so Superman could be bobbing and weaving that, frying the cameras, and fighting Ultraman and defeat Ultraman without help. I get it. We're supposed to do Superman weak and then build up, but he never gets his freaking victory. It's just, one time. One time, just let him beat the villain on his own. Henry Cavill's did. Christopher Reeves did. And there are a bunch of times in this movie where Heat Vision, one well-placed blast of Heat Vision would have taken care of things with the little cameras. At one point, Engineer sends, their plan to kill Superman is for an engineer to send nanites into Superman's body. And what is this weird thing with in superhero stuff in general, movies, comics, whatever, of having stuff gotta like get inserted into the hero's mouth? It's like, we know what kind of Japanese shows you're watching. Get your weird fetish shit out of my stuff. And I'm watching this going, dude, just blast it with your Heat Vision. Just blast it with your Heat Vision, then just blast her with your Heat Vision. Problem solved. And but the nanites get to him, and I'm thinking, he can't just super speed out of that? But for whatever reason, Engineer's just as fast as Superman throughout this whole thing. I don't know. So yeah, I guess human tech's just as equal as Kryptonian tech in this. But all in all, this movie was terrible. I hated it. I genuinely did not like it. I went into this movie thinking I was either gonna, think that wasn't very good, wasn't my thing, or I was gonna be, you know what, that was solid. I'm surprised. I did not expect to come out of there hating it like this. Like, I genuinely hate this movie. I'm giving it maybe a 2 out of 10. If you're a massive Superman fan and want to go see it, go ahead. I'm never gonna tell you guys how to spend your money. I'll never tell you guys not to. I'll recommend, hey, you might not want to because it's not very good, but go see it for yourself. Form your own judgment. I'm going to call it here because I'm already starting to lose my voice from ranting. And I don't want to just keep ranting and I've taken up enough of you guys' time as it is. If you have watched it this far in the video, I truly thank you. I appreciate you guys. I love doing this stuff. I'm glad to be back doing it. And if you are so inclined, please remember to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know if you saw the movie, what you thought of it. Are you going to see the movie? And yeah, that's about it for me. Thank you guys for watching. I appreciate you, and I will see you in the next one. You guys have an amazing, amazing day, everybody. Peace and love.